My name's Houston Singletary. I'm the lead clinician for Ableton. Some of you folks I've met during the show, and I'd like to introduce Nick McLaren, product manager for Serato, DJ extraordinaire as well. So he's going to be doing all the work on the vinyl control with the turntables with Serato. I'm going to take control of Ableton, but we're going to show you how we've united these two products into one in what we call the bridge. So first thing I want to do with Ableton is I want to show you how we've got the APC 40, the Launchpad controller, which I'll interact in a few minutes, with Ableton Live. And so basically, I'm taking control of Live. How many live users do we have? Okay, great. So I'm going to control Live business as usual as I go through my scenes and my tracks, opening up my different clip views, taking a look at my audio, changing another scene, working with volume, and all is good. It's great. I can transpose, can change my tempo, slow things down, speed things back up. Okay? A great way to remix, work with your tracks, work in your production environment. But this weekend here at the show, we're also announcing our announcement with Serato as well. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and tuck Ableton aside, and I'm going to let Nick go ahead and open Serato. He's going to introduce you very quickly to the basics of how Serato works with the decks, and then we're going to talk about how we can get both of these environments in one.
Hey guys, how many Serato Scratch Live users do we have? Cool, so I'll go a brief overview of Serato Scratch Live. Basically, it's digital vinyl emulation software, DJ software. You have the two decks on screen there, which mirror your typical DJ setup. Your track list library in the middle there, and your crate list on the side there. So that's your playlists. You can have iTunes playlists in there, etc. Scratch Live has three modes essentially. Absolute mode is the first one that I'll show you. It's essentially what a lot of guys use when they come straight through from vinyl. So if I load up a track, it's an absolute mode there on the right. And essentially you can needle drop through a track like a real record. So obviously at the beginning of the record is the start of the song. And as I skip through the control vinyl, it's like skipping through a real piece of vinyl. The next mode I'll show you quickly is relative mode. So that's very similar to absolute mode. You get all the turntable position and everything when you're scratching, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you are on the vinyl. So you can scratch really heavily, the needle will skip, and you'll still be at where you were. You also get interesting things like cue points and loops, which I'll show you very quickly. I'll set a cue point right here. I'll show you a loop.
So that's a look at deck B, working with vinyl control. Obviously there's another deck to the left, deck A, where we can bring another sample, another MP3 in and work with that. So what he's showing you is the environment of Serato, the tools that Serato has for all the DJs out there to work with their environment, whether in a club, whether creating a remix. It's exactly what Nick is doing. So what we're doing now is we want to show you how we've integrated the production tools and the environment of Ableton Live and the DJ tools of Serato. So we're going to keep Serato open, but we're going to flip over to Live right quick. Again, show you that interface. And there it is. There's a session view inside Live. You can see that I've got my clips, I've got my different tracks, I've got my scenes lined up. Well, it'd be one thing to sync this up, with a couple of computers, MIDI interface, and tie these together so we can synchronize Live with Serato. But now, with the bridge, we're actually able to bring Live into Serato. And we're going to show you that right now. We've got a button right up here, and Nick is going to take you through and show you how the session view will be integrated right inside Serato. And there it is. So now you see the clips, the different tracks, okay, audio 1, kick, track 2, track 3, all across the board. So Nick, why don't we give an explanation basically of what's going on there as far as the Ableton transport control over here to the left, and the Ableton player, and then we'll show you guys how we can lock this together and create a production and more.
So what you see here, as Houston explained, is the session view there. You've got your clips. On the left is the transport control. Scratch Live users will recognize the internal button from up on the decks there. So that's internal mode, allowing Scratch Live just to basically control it. You can MIDI assign that if you like. Removes that alt tabbing necessity. At the bottom there, it's much like you might find on an APC where you can go through your clips and scenes.
So it's a scroll, basically, moving our track view in the session view up and down, left, right. So walk us through now. This is the critical part here. Walk us through now how we can synchronize Ableton and Serato together with the sync button in the Ableton player.
Well, should we show them the transport control first on deck?
Sure.
Let's show them that.
There's several ways to approach this. We can actually drop an Ableton project right into a deck. We can also control it with the Ableton player. So sure, absolutely. Let's show you guys the first way that we can integrate Ableton Live inside Serato. That'd be great. Cool.
So we wanted to make this really easy for Scratch Live users. So it's really familiar. You search for basically Ableton, and it shows up as an audio track in your library. Although it's not an audio track, it's the transport control.
So what we're seeing there as a file, we're actually seeing that live set.
Exactly.
With Ableton. Right there. Right. So we'll close this now. Just to be really clear here, dance loop set, Nick's Ableton set, go back to Serato, and there it is. Dance loops demo set is a file. So cool.
And that gives me full turntable control over Ableton.
So now you're controlling live.
Exactly.
You're controlling live's transport with your vinyl control through Serato on Deck B.
Exactly, just like an audio file. So I can put it on 45, pitch it right up.
Let's take a quick look at Ableton one more time as he's playing that. And if you take a look up at the top at Ableton's transport control, you can see the activity that Nick's initiating through Serato. So we've got complete control over Ableton Live set inside Serato now with the bridge. Now here's something really interesting. Being an Ableton guy, I can step into the picture now while he's controlling it, and I can independently launch clips either with my mouse by clicking on individual clips, or even cooler, I can use APC 40. So right now I'll launch scene 1, and there we go. You can see now scene 1 is playing across the board and live. There's the activator clips playing from left to right. Let's go to scene 2. There we go. Maybe down to scene 4. Great. What's really cool is Nick can get back on the decks and he can actually control the tempo up and down and stop it as well. So
you can still do all the regular Scratch Live tricks. You can set cue points. So I can do a loop.
That's great. And then what's really cool now, being the DJ, he can go back over to Deck A and just bring in some hits, bring in some acapellas, all that information that's an MP3 sample over on the left side in Deck A can be integrated now. So all those traditional tools, all those DJ tools that you have as a Serato user are totally aligned with Ableton Live now on both decks. So, and that's a great visual. We're just going from application to application. We don't necessarily have to while we're working, but just to demonstrate this for you guys, we want to be really clear and show you that we are controlling the transport control inside Live. So now we've got a full production environment now. He's scratching on Deck A. We've got track Deck B controlling Live. Hopefully you guys get a feel for that. There's another way that we can work with Ableton and sync too. It's the Ableton player. Nick's going to walk you through that so we can actually free up the decks to work with samples and audio.
So what I'm doing right here is mixing over to my left deck. And I'll fade out the Ableton set.
So now Deck A is playing.
So that's just playing the MP3 there on the left. And then what I can do is, if I eject Ableton transport control from the deck, I now get the internal and sync controls back on the Ableton player. So I can go right ahead and just play Ableton. I can play it independently, scratch over the top if I want, free up both decks.
So if you take a look at the left side of the Serato interface, that's where Nick's working, and now he's working with the Ableton player. He's going to control the transport control inside Serato, freeing up our decks for audio now, but still controlling Ableton. So we have three things happening at once.
So I'm pitching it up and down. I can nudge, bend, or your regular internal mode controls.
And I can go ahead and control clips on the APC 40. There we go, and I'm playing scene 2. Maybe I want to mix up some clips. So now I'm just launching random clips across the session view. Scene 4, I can control volume as well. Very, very cool. One other thing we want to show you is something that we're really, really excited about. Nick's going to step you through a third process of bringing Serato and all the functionality of his set and recording and all his different movements, all his different activity he's doing in Serato, and record that into Ableton. Let's take that away.
Oh, should we show them the sync player real quick?
Sure.
The sync,
Yep.
because the sync is exciting. So what I've got here, what we will quickly touch on is the sync button there. Now that's not syncing Scratch Live together, it's syncing Ableton to a Scratch Live deck. So if you can see here, I've got sync. I'll choose which deck to sync to. With the 57, I have 2 options, deck 1 and 2. SL3 users can have 1, 2, 3. And of course, 68 users, you might have seen the new Rain mixer. You have 4 sources to sync to. So I'll choose 2 here. I'll set the downbeat to sync. And now that'll be synced. So for example, I might just want to add I'll stop all the clips and add 1 drum loop over the top. So if I drop.
So that's an Ableton clip.
That's the Ableton drum loop right there.
Playing on track 2.
Let's give it a bit of volume.
You know what? Just to make things really clear, let's go look at Ableton right quick. And there you go, track 2, synchronized playing. Just want to make sure that visual is really clear for everybody. So there we go, track 2, that's great. So I'll pop back to Serato for Nick here.
The mixtape
Let's
stuff,
show mixtape. This is a fantastic feature. It's going to allow you to do everything that you want as a DJ and bring that back into Ableton and save that as an Ableton project. So
okay, so we'll go ahead and quit Ableton. You don't even need that open, right?
So let's follow the steps, guys. One second. You guys ready?
Yeah.
For this last feature?
Yep.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to close Ableton completely, because now we're just going to work inside Serato and record our set inside Serato in what we call the mixtape feature. This is really cool stuff. Nick, take it away.
So we'll jump straight into the familiar record panel. There's a bit of a new look for 2.0, but it's still all the same options, except with the bridge you have the option of saving as a .als, which is an Ableton Live set, right?
Ableton Live set, yep.
So remember, Ableton's not actually open. I'm just selecting that as the set option, as the record option. So hit record.
So Nick's going to go ahead and record some different turntable techniques, some audio. Basically, he's just going to record his audio as usual in Serato with the record feature, but recording that to a .als, which stands for Ableton Live Set. For all you live users, you know exactly what that is. So now he's going to run through, he's going to do some crossfader, he's going to do some EQing, he's going to work with some different 2 pieces of audio, move those around. So Nick, why don't we take a look at what we have now. Great. So he's going to go ahead and open up, take you through here the filing system and show you exactly where that set is. He's going to name it.
So that just goes straight into your Scratch Live folder as any other recording that you do in Scratch Live. So Scratch Live folder.
And check this out, guys. This is the cool part.
What did I call it? Friday demo. There you go. I named it properly today. Let's reveal it with the Command R. That takes you to the Finder.
And look what we have there, guys. It's an Ableton .als Ableton Live Set. So there we go. From Serato, we've created a dedicated Ableton project file. It's fantastic. So now it'll actually open Live up. And Nick's going to take you through really briefly now of what you're seeing in Live's arrangement view from left to right and down below in our automation track.
So I'm just going to expand these waveforms here. So we'll go from the top. So at the top there I have the Program 1 pre-fader audio, which is actually the second audio source I brought in. The next step down is the Program 2 pre-fader audio. At the bottom is the whole mix. In case you do like that, you can keep it as is.
And it actually auto-mutes, I believe. Is that correct?
It does.
Yeah, so it's muted. But in case you want to bring that in as a stereo track, it's pretty cool. And last but not least, down at the very bottom, looks like we've got some automation down there.
You've got all the crossfader automation.
So everything that he did in that nice little 45-second freestyle jam there is recorded. Go ahead, play a little bit of it.
Yeah, let's do that.
And that's called mixtape, guys. So we're able to work with the bridge and bring Ableton Live and Serato together to work with Ableton as a tracked project file. We can bring it into a deck and control with the turntables. We can also use it as the Ableton player, internal sync with Serato. And last but not least, we can actually record our set now with Serato and create an Ableton project file called an ALS, which is great. And now we can go back the next day after the session, after the show, and we can go in and edit, put our producer hat on, take our digital workstation tools inside Live's production environment, and cut and manipulate it and create our mixtape. So
If you actually look here as well, you can see
the automation.
the automation there.